Mother's reaction after seeing what's under the blanket goes viral. Welcoming a newborn is a beautiful thing. Still, deliveries can be quite exhausting, both emotionally and physically. Lauren, the protagonist of our story, gave an extraordinary effort to deliver her daughter. Throughout the whole process, Chad McDevitt, who is her boyfriend and father of the child, was there to support her. By the time the newborn was delivered, Lauren was extremely drained yet happy that they just became parents. Although Lauren was going through a postpartum shock, Chad and her family were celebrating together, in the hospital, that Everly was successfully brought into the world. They had wanted to become parents again for some time, and now that it happened, both Chad and Lauren were filled with joy. According to the witnesses, they couldn't get enough of looking at how beautiful Everly is. Compared to the moments during the delivery, the minutes after the baby was born were extremely enjoyable, even though Lauren was utterly exhausted from the few hours of effort. With that in mind, no one expected that the main surprise was yet to come. Once Lauren removed the blanket from Everly, she couldn't believe her eyes. As we have mentioned above, Lauren and Chad already had parenting experience, as before Everly being born, they already had a son. It has been their greatest wish to parent another child, and even better if it was a daughter. What they wanted came true, as in November 2014, Lauren found out that they have conceived a baby. Absolutely hyped about the fact that he would become a father for the second time, Chad decided to invite friends and their family members to come over to the hospital and thus pay a visit to Lauren and Everly, who was just a day old at that time. The majority of invited people answered the call, which resulted in the hospital room being swarmed by visitors from all sides. Although tired, Lauren didn't have anything against this, and she was enjoying all the good wishes and congratulations that they got. Among all the visitors, it was Lauren's aunt that spent the most time caressing Everly and walking around with her. During this time, Lauren was able to take a break, though she was completely awake, mostly due to the excitement and adrenaline that was rushing through her veins. Although more than several people were present, no one, including Lauren, had a clue about what was beneath the blanket. That makes this story even more surprising. Everyone was giggling, filled with joy and happiness with the opportunity to meet Everly and congratulate Lauren and Chad. While excitement is common for post-deliveries, we are sure that the Kentucky hospital was pretty impressed with the number of people who paid a visit. During their playtime, Lauren's aunt noticed that something was different. Apparently, Everly had a little accident. Of course, this was nothing to stress about. She was just 24 hours old at the time, and this was to be expected. They called in a nurse, and minutes later, Everly got taken care of. According to the nurses, she needed additional parental attention, which Chad and Lauren were glad to give. Sometime after the nurse was called over, they decided to pass the baby back to Lauren. The one who did it was Chad, her boyfriend, who couldn't hold his excitement and kissed Everly before putting her in Lauren's hands. The mother wasn't too shocked by the fact that Everly had a little accident, as that is perfectly normal, even for much older babies. As soon as she got Everly into her arms, she had to comment about how the diaper work that the nurses did was pretty impressive. According to her, she was never too confident with the swaddles with her first baby. Chad was pretty entertained with Lauren's commentary, which is why he decided to post a YouTube video that became viral just a couple of days ago. The mother was happy to have the baby with her but couldn't sense what was happening underneath. At this moment, the only one who was aware of the shocking truth was Everly, and she didn't know how to let others know before they found out. Not only were they excited that they are all in a room with the newborn baby, but also happy that the little accident was taken care of and no one was expecting another surprise. Yes, even the nurse that did such a great job swaddling the baby, at the end of the day, she has years of experience, was aware of what is yet to be revealed. While Lauren was the one who wanted to change the diaper, everyone in the room was pretty clear in saying that it should be done by someone who is more rested and experienced. That was the nurse. Putting a lot of trust in the staff of the Kentucky hospital, Lauren didn't have anything against it. Frankly, she was craving to get that rest. When the baby was finally wrapped, some of the visitors wanted to take a closer look. No one of the friends and family, even Lauren and Chad, didn't get an opportunity to see more than just the head of the baby, mostly because Everly was perfectly swaddled. Still, after the diapers were changed, one of Lauren's friends requested that she be unveiled so they can take a full look at her. Everyone present, including Laura, felt a unique kind of excitement exactly because they didn't know what to expect. It was completely justified because what they saw underneath was pretty shocking. It is safe to say that Lauren went completely pale. While everyone else was excited with the opportunity to see Everly, Lauren didn't share their enthusiasm. She simply wanted to enjoy the time with her baby. We understand her. The first couple of days since the delivery are considered to be essential for strengthening the mutual bond between the mother and the child. Still, the fact that Lauren didn't want to spend a lot of time on particular acts is the main reason why she didn't protest against unveiling her baby. Both she and Chad were amazed by her looks, and they wanted to show to other visitors the full beauty that Everly holds. Little did they know that they will be the ones that are surprised. We already said that Lauren and Chad were incredibly excited to become parents for the second time. They were even more excited because it was a daughter, as they already had a son. However, life, as it is, comes with a lot of uncertainty, which is why it is justified that they couldn't expect what was about to come. Although Lauren complimented the swaddle that the nurse created, she very soon found out that it was a bit too tight. This was a bit fishy to her, as she had a lot of issues with unwrapping and showing Everly to all the visitors. As things usually are, everything is done for a reason. With that in mind, the nurse apparently knew why she had to create a tight swaddle. But what was hidden? At this point, it was pretty clear to everyone that Everly wasn't feeling as comfortable in the tight swaddle. To everyone's relief, Lauren was able to unwrap her. Still, there was more than a single reason to be worried, and the mother was already sensing some kind of trouble. At the particular moment that Everly has unwrapped, everyone in the room was trying to hold their breath, hoping to admire the beauty of the newly born child. That was something that Lauren and Chad were expecting, but the second that she was unwrapped, everyone was pretty confused. Given that Lauren was the first one to be shocked, she wasn't sure whether she was hallucinating or things were simply off. The main reason why she was as confused was that the mother was well aware of her postpartum condition. Everyone understood that Laura paused for a moment and tried to figure out what she saw. Still, no one had the opportunity to take a look at Everly and try to make things more clear. That is when Laura shrieked, which startled all the visitors as they were sure that she might be feeling ill or that something disastrous happened. With every second of the silence, the mystery was even bigger, and everyone was worried about what is to come. Some visitors thought that the baby may have been replaced and that it was the reason for Lauren to shriek. Others were sure that Lauren was simply experiencing some postpartum symptoms, but no one could put a finger on what was the cause or how they could help. While under huge shock, Laura was present enough to call Chad for help. There wasn't anyone better who could help her understand what is underneath the blanket than the father of Everly. Still, as it seemed, Chad couldn't figure out what was happening either. By this time, everyone was pretty sure that the expectations the parents had for the baby were completely off, and the pure excitement was filled with uncertainty and sadness all across the room. Yes, Chad couldn't help Laura understand what was beneath the blanket, but contrary to her, he was completely calm. At no point did he shriek or startle, which contributed to the mystery. On the other side of the room, everyone looked directly at the nurse that changed the swaddle, now sure that she had to do something with the shocking discovery. As minutes went by, no one said anything, but everyone was simply looking at Lauren, who moved her hands back and forth, caressing Everly and trying to detect whether the shock was real. Finally, after a couple of visitors got a glimpse, they could determine that it was something related to her onesie. Lauren later suggested that if it wasn't for the number of people in the room, she probably wouldn't have been as confused, and the mystery would end much sooner. While Chad continued to stay calm and seem like he understands every bit of the situation, Lauren shouted, "Yes," and looked over to the nurse. Once again, everyone was sure that it was the nurse who knew what was going on with Everly's onesie and why Lauren was startled. The most confusing part was that the size of the onesie was completely the same as that of Everly's body. Additionally, there was something that no one could get their finger on but Chad. In the end, everything was carefully planned out by Chad and the nurse. To be honest, it has to be one of the most romantic proposals ever. Once again, the room full of visitors was happy, excited, and everyone was clapping. On the other hand, both Chad and Lauren were crying and enjoying the unforgettable moment. Guess what the ring was? At Everly's hands. While Lauren and everyone else present went through an emotional roller coaster, it was all worth it in the end. Most importantly, she said yes, and after years of being together, Chad and Lauren were about to marry. No one would have thought that just 24 hours after she had delivered a beautiful daughter, the mother will have something else to celebrate and be happy about.